All right, everyone. I am so excited to welcome back to the show producer, author, reporter, Emmy nominated TV producer, former entertainment journalism, author of When You Step Upon a Star, Cringe-Worthy Confessions of a Tabloid Bad Boy. Welcome back to the show, William Keck.
Thank you, Jeff. Great to be back.
So great.
It's been a while. So we're coming up on a year, I think.
It might be. You were episode 347 when we did a deep dive into your book. And then I have a chart here that shows sales skyrocketing after your appearance on my show. No, I just would have been.
Oh, it did help. Yeah, every one of these. That's why we do them, But yeah, it was I did a lot of interviews, and yours was one of my favorites. So I'm really glad to be doing part 2 with you. We had a lot of unfinished business to discuss.
Yes, and thank you for that lovely compliment. I had a great time with you as well. It was so, but in all seriousness, like how did the book do? It looked like it did amazing. I saw a lot of cool articles. You were everywhere.
Yeah, no, it was my publicist Harlan did a really great job. Harlan represents a lot of the celebrities in the book, so he actually helped me get them to contribute to the book. People like Lindsay Wagner and Melissa Gilbert, and mutual friends of ours. So yeah, and then I've known him as a publicist for so many years. So to have him be my publicist on the book was really interesting and exciting. And we got some great press, and we were taking the book to Dallas. There's something called the Southwark Experience. So they're having a bunch of actors from, well, obviously Dallas, but also the ladies in Knots Landing. They're doing a Three's Company reunion, all at Southwark. So I'll be there with my book and to moderate panels. That's in August, actually. And then I'll be with the book, I think, in Memphis in September, and then Orlando in October. So it ain't done yet. We're still rocking and rolling with this thing.
That is really, really exciting. I'm glad to hear that. That's really awesome. You deserve it. It was a great confessional. And so I'll put a link in the show notes to this one too. So everyone who's listening should buy this book. It was Will was a horrible person at one point.
I'm still not wonderful, but I was much worse. Yeah.
He is reformed, but it makes for some great stories.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed it, but just very briefly, I was a tabloid reporter for 3 years for the National Enquirer. It was during the whole OJ debacle, that whole horrible tragedy, I should say, not a debacle. Well, it was a little bit of that too. I just had a nightmare the other night. It was something that actually happened that I did not put in the book because I'm still too embarrassed to this day because I don't want my editors to know. But I'll tell you very briefly. It's a fascinating story. I was at the Bel Air Hotel, and I was on assignment. I want to say it was maybe for Oprah's birthday party or something, and Gayle King and all these celebrities were there, and I was hiding in the bushes trying to find out things. I was already sick of OJ. I just did not want to be part of that at all. I did not want to go to downtown to the police departments and jail cells. I hated it. So any chance I had to avoid it, I would, even though I did have this big scoop in the beginning with Nicole Brown Simpson's family, which we talked about, which leads off the book. But when I was at the Bel Air Hotel that night, I was sneaking through the dining room area, and it was very dark, it was very late, and I saw Chris Darden and
Marcia Clark.
Marcia Clark, thank you. I confuse her with Marcia Cross all the time. Marcia Clark, they were there having a romantic interlude, and nobody knew about this yet. It came out later, but this would have been shocking. And I saw it, and I almost just pushed it away as if I didn't see it because I didn't want to jump in there. But I mean, if my editors could fire me now with that, they would come back. Yes, they would come back and fire me. It would have been huge. It would have been cover stories for weeks about that romance, and it did come out later. But I just went right back to looking for Oprah. So, it's again, that one I was just too embarrassed. But everything else is in the book. I revealed everything else. But we left kind of a big unfinished subject matter we wanted to talk about. We wanted to talk about all the reunions that I was part of, all these amazing TV reunions.
Yes, you were, and you were So many. I don't. We may have to have like 5 sequels to this one.
Let's do it.
Let's see
Yeah.
how many stories. It depends how many stories you got. Tell me the gist. So you worked for like some of these were with Hallmark when you were with TV Guide. Like, how did you come about becoming like? Because this is one of the things that I mean, if I look up your mini bios, it goes known for cast reunion shows.
It does. It's weird. Yeah. Yeah, I really did not set out for that to be my thing. I'll tell you, it's and this is discussed in the book. I had a very small family. I had no siblings. I had just my mom. My dad died when I was a kid, and I loved going out and playing with the kids in the neighborhood and was always very envious when they went off into their own homes for dinners and vacations. So I really threw myself into my love for TV. I just loved when they would reunite. And I think the first one I remember watching on TV was Rescue from Gilligan's Island, because it always really, really bothered me that they never got off that damn island. Can we swear on this show?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
That fucking island. It really, really bothered me. So when they got together, and then of course, a tidal wave happened, and they ended up back on that fucking island. It was just the most amazing thing, and then it became kind of a thing that did so well in the ratings. Then they did the Brady girls got married, and that led to the Brady brides, and every show started doing these. And a little bit later, there was the Dynasty reunion, which I worked on behind the scenes, and there were all these Dallas and Waltons, and I was just obsessed. And so when I came out here to California, I wanted to be there for every possible reunion I could. That's why in the book, you see me at the Knots Landing cul-de-sac with all the ladies, and you see me at Southwark with the whole cast. You see me up at the Carrington Mansion, the Filoli Mansion in Northern California with John Forsythe, Linda Evans, Joan Collins. Anytime there was a reunion, I was there for it. And these things happen behind the scenes that you can ask me about. And then when I had a chance to produce my own reunions, I went crazy. And that was on Hallmark.
I'll list some of these off because I'm not sure exactly which ones were on Hallmark or which ones you covered.
Yeah.
But we can just, so if I were to start with Leave It to Beaver.
Well, so Leave It to Beaver was my friend Michael Levitt. He partnered with Henry Winkler, and they produced the TV Land Awards, which was just like my wedding. I mean, it was the day I looked forward to more than any other during the year, when they would all come together. It was just nuts. And so at the time, I was at USA Today. So I got my pick of the litter. I mean, maybe there would be 4 reunions, and I would say, I want to cover that one and that one. And one of the ones they were honoring was Leave It to Beaver. It was the 50th anniversary of Leave It to Beaver. I had an opportunity to sit down for quite a while with Tony Dow and Jerry Mathers together. But the coolest thing was, I really wanted to talk to Barbara Billingsley, and she was maybe going to make it in person. She didn't, but I did get to talk to Mrs. Cleaver on the phone for quite a while, which was just so exciting. And that was the big deal for me, is that I wanted to meet them before they passed, because it did feel, when one of them died, it felt like one of my own family members dying. And not long after that, June did die. Barbara Billingsley did pass away. So that was that one. So I had not a lot of involvement on that, but just to sit with Tony Dow and Jerry Mathers. And this kicked off a tradition that I did for about 15 years, where I did a TV reunion Christmas card. And so I put on a baseball cap, and I brought a little bat, and I basically posed with Jerry and Tony as the Beaver. And I sent this out to all the media, for Christmas, and all my friends and family. So they thought I was a total weirdo, and they were right. But it was like, yeah, wishing you a very Beaver Christmas or something like that. I mean, we did a Brady card, and we did a Dallas card from Southwark. So yeah, that was super fun. I saw Jerry Mathers not long ago, and I just, you talk about me being sad about one of these people dying. Jerry is just, I think, just devastated. I don't know if he'll ever recover, with Tony having passed. It wasn't supposed to happen. They did everything together. They always remained brothers after that show ended, and it's heartbreaking to see him without Wally.
This is such a thing for them. And then when the cast starts passing away, like Tina Louise is like the only one left, right?
Crazy. And since we talked, Jeff, I did have a very long, like, hour conversation with Tina Louise. who is very private, and she's sort of like, I would say a recluse almost, but she's obsessed with this book that she wrote years and years and years ago about her childhood, about 3 years of her life spent in an orphanage. And I was able to get her on the phone to talk about that. And she really did not want to talk about Gilligan's Island, but I kept on steering it back there. And I got her to tell great stories about Bob Denver and Russell Johnson and Dawn Wells. And she didn't have the animosity that everybody thinks she does. I think that she did for a long time, but when, she's 90 years old now. So I think when you get to be 90, you're kind of like, what the F? Let's go there. Let's talk about it. But it wasn't easy. I really had to keep on, like when she was talking about this orphanage she was in. So was being in an orphanage, Tina, kind of like being stranded on a deserted island? And she would roll her eyes, but she played ball with me. That was great. That was a thrill.
Why do you think some folks like Tina, in your experience with all the folks that you've met, there's some that embrace it? Like Jerry Mathers is still the Beaver. He's still doing the Comic-Cons. And then Tina Louise, just recently puts out, I'm done with Ginger, right? It's like, even though it's, most people would probably say immediately the visceral reaction would be Ginger.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And when they did that Rescue from Gilligan's Island, people who care will know that she was not part of it. She did not do any of those Gilligan's Island reunion movies because she had been on Dallas very briefly for a year. And she told me actually why she left Dallas. I never knew this. I guess there was a contract dispute. She was supposed to be a bigger character than she was. She was brought on to be JR and Jock's secretary. And she thought she was going to be in the opening credits along with Victoria Principal and Linda Gray and Patrick Duffy. And for whatever reason, she wasn't. And she never got over that. And I don't know if they let her go or she quit or what, but it wasn't a great experience. So she probably doesn't want to talk about Dallas either. I don't know. I don't want to come down on her. She was so gracious to talk to me and was very generous with her time. So why do they not want to do more? It's a matter of, I think, how they see themselves. And some of them see themselves as a bigger star than perhaps fate has in store for them. Florence Henderson, she always got a kick out of being Mrs. Brady. And for that reason, she got a reputation of being fun and easy to work with. And because of that, she got a lot of offers. I mean, it was often offers that kind of had her playing Mrs. Brady or something like that. But she would get other things too because people just adored her. And then someone like Eve Plum, who makes it clear that she wants nothing to do with the Brady Bunch, I think that it just sort of makes her seem like she's someone who's sour grapes, whether she is or not. And maybe you don't want to work with somebody who's like that. I've gotten to know Eve, and she's different than the others. I'll say that. She is showing up for things because she's getting paid now. And you know what? I'll say that too. They have every right to get paid. And people, I was like, why not do it? Why not just be part of this, show up, and for the fans? Well, okay, maybe 5 or 6 times, but when you're being asked to do this again and again, and you're not getting paid for something, or you're getting paid very, very, very little, and the project you're talking about, the Brady Bunch, you did not make residuals on, you were paid very, very little when you were like 13 years old. And when you go on to a program to promote it, it's promoting the brand. Paramount's going to make more money for it, but you're still not. So I get why people would be hesitant to support something that they're not getting a benefit from. I totally get it.
But and Eve almost kind of was on, I think, when she like passed on the Brady Bunch hour and stuff, like, which did give us fake fans.
How smart was she to pass on that piece of garbage? Yes, yeah.
It's still,
I bet they all wish they had.
It's funny though. It's bad rap as the Brady Bunch variety hour gets. When you really put it up against other 70s variety shows of the time, it's really, it's on par. It wasn't like they were all great and the Brady Bunch one was bad. They were all fun, mad for this. They were 70s, you know what I mean? They were of the time.
Listen, anytime I Love to Love You Brady, comes up on Instagram, I'm going to watch it, and whether they're dancing with Ann B. Davis or they're dancing with Donnie and Marie or whatever. I'm all there for it. But what really irked me about the Brady variety show, well, it sounds so strange, but yes, I'm bitter, is that they spent all this money on these costumes and these crazy sets and swimming pools with, divers going in, Esther Williams type divers going in. But when they would cut to the Brady house, it looked like they were filming it in a closet or one of their dressing rooms. They spent no money to even remotely try to recreate a room of the house. I have rooms in my house that look more like the Brady house. So that was like, it made me think the whole thing was done on the cheap, that they didn't care about, I guess, sort of paying tribute to what was and honoring the fans who care about what the Brady house looked like. So how great was it when they did that reunion and they redid the Brady house to make it look like the actual Brady house? Have you been there? Have you had a chance to go?
I haven't gone there, the renovation one. I think I just saw they were doing like a sweepstakes. You could win a trip to go see it or something.
Yeah. I was there not long ago with Christopher Knight, Peter Brady. He gave me a tour, which was, just incredible. He wrote something for my book, and I handed him a copy of my book for that finally. But yeah, they were doing, at the time they were auctioning off a chance to be there for a very Brady brunch. And now I think they have an auction for a very Brady barbecue. For whatever reason, they're not allowed to say Brady Bunch. So they find other ways to weave in Brady with the brunch and things like that.
Fun. I got to talk to Christopher Knight. He was a good dude. He was fun to talk to. You know who I talked to from as a Leave It to Beaver? That people love this one is Stephen Talbot, Gilbert.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Such a
how was he? Was he good?
Amazing. It was great. Yeah.
Good.
It was so fun. Tina Louise, the email I got back was she doesn't do technology.
Oh, technology.
I wanted to so bad talk to Tina.
Yeah, ours was a phone call. It would have been great to talk to her in a Zoom like this, but that was not to happen. No technology.
You pick the next one. Which was one of your most favorite?
Well, when I got to Home and Family, which was a show that ran on the Hallmark Channel for 9 seasons, I was there for 8 of those years. The executive producer gave me a chance to kind of take over this 2-hour show and do these crazy, splashy 2-hour reunion shows. And the first one I did started by accident. We were pitched a chance to have Anson Williams on the show, and then we were also pitched around that time Don Most and Marion Ross. I'm like, instead of just booking them over the next few months, why not just have them come together? And it sounded like a great idea. My producer loved it. The stars were there each to promote something. Marion Ross had her book come out. Anson had a book come out, and Donnie Most, who played Ralph Mouth, he had I think an album coming out because he's a big conductor, musician. And they all were like, oi, they love each other. They're very, very close. The Happy Days, I'm talking about Happy Days cast, but they wanted to make sure they had a chance to promote their individual items, that it wouldn't get lost in talking about Fonzie. So what I did was I say, hey, listen, we'll come on and we'll do a couple segments about Happy Days, but then you'll each have your own segment to talk about your books and your music. And we had, it was great. We had Anson did a whole segment about, I guess his uncle was the creator of the Heimlich maneuver. So I think we did a Heimlich demonstration with one of them. And then we had Marion and Anson were in the audience when Don did his conducting of the orchestra. So this kind of set the tone of what these were going to be. When I did the next one, which I think was the Waltons, I had my choice of who I wanted, and I didn't want it to get lost with all of them. And I knew some people were better on cameras than the others. So my wish list was obviously Richard Thomas, who we got, and Michael Learned, who played Olivia Walton, the mom. We got her. And then I had the 3 girls come on because I knew they were very close. And what was great about this was I was able to get Earl Hamner, who was the creator of the Waltons. He was very old. He was in his 90s at the time and not in great health. He recorded an opening as he did for every episode of the Waltons. And he and I worked together on some kind of a poetic kind of an opening about life for the Waltons. It was always like coming home. And so we took the camera into our home. And then what was great is we did the goodbyes, the goodnights at the end of the episode too. So it was 2 hours of a lot of memories and clips and all that kind of thing. And then they were all in tears by the end of it. So it was a lot of fun to do that. But we paid them nothing. We paid them nothing. So a lot of times the question was, what's in it for me? And if they had something to promote, that was the answer. But if they had nothing to promote, it was really just me begging that the fans will love this and everyone else is doing it. And I think one of the people who was most reluctant to do a reunion was Al Corley, who played the first Stephen Carrington in Dynasty. And I think Al, like me, just, he needed some money. And he said, "Can you just give us, $500?" And I can't, because the network wouldn't have approved it. And if I paid him that, then it would set a precedent and I would have to pay everybody that. People watch this are like, $500, that's nothing. Just pay the 5 people on the show 500, but then we would have had to do that for every cast reunion I did. And then there would have been negotiating. Well, how much is that person getting paid? So we just kept it as nothing. You can promote whatever you want to do, but Al had nothing to promote. But luckily, John James, who played Jeff Colby, he called him and said, "Come on, just do it. Come and have fun with us." And that's what happened in that case.
With the Happy Days example or the Waltons, what is it like sitting there watching these folks reunite? Because they probably haven't seen each other in most cases, or a lot of cases, in a very long time. But at one point, they were, as close as any family, right?
Well, what was funny, you mentioned that. I did a Star Trek The Next Generation reunion, and I forget how, I think maybe I had Jonathan Frakes on, and he said, I can get them for you. And so I worked with Jonathan. We put together, I think we had like 5, and it was so hard to schedule the Next Generation reunion because they do see each other almost every weekend at these reunions. It was a matter of, gosh, one would drop out and I would put somebody else in. We kept on moving the date, and finally I'm like, you know what? They're never all going to be available, because if some of them aren't available to do a sci-fi show in Oklahoma, they're going to reach out to some of the other cast members. And because I wasn't paying them anything, why would they do my show for free when they can make, I don't know, $100,000 at one of these weekend events? How could I argue with that? We got most of them. The guy who played Data helped me with
Brent Spinner.
Thank you. Brent Spiner wanted to do it, but he was at a convention, so he recorded a greeting for them, and a surprise greeting. And he was making fun of the fact that they see each other all the time. He's like, "Hey guys, it's been so long since we saw each other. My gosh, I can't imagine what you guys look like now." And they were all laughing, rolling their eyes, knowing they were going to see him in probably 5 days. What was terrifying with that, because we paid them nothing, I was always worried we were going to lose them. If they got any offer to do anything to make $5, that they would quit mine. And this happened with the Next Generation. They wanted Frakes to come in a day early to do some extra autographs. And he left me a message, "Will, I'm so sorry I can't do it." I needed him because I didn't have Patrick Stewart. We had turned our house set into a whole spaceship, and he was going to be our captain. We needed Riker. So I did one of my begging things. I'm like, "Please, please." And I think he got one of the other actors to go do what he was going to do. And God bless Jonathan Frakes. He came on our reunion. And when he saw what we had done, when he saw that it was 2 hours, he's like, "Will, I get how you would have been screwed if I hadn't done this. I get it." And I'm like, "Oh, yes, thank you." But I wasn't always lucky. I did lose some people right before. We lost the mother from Little House on the Prairie right before our reunion, and I was so bummed. But then all of a sudden I got Matthew Leberto to come do it instead. So it was always negotiating and worry until they were all there on set.
Karen bailed on you? That was
Karen had a very good reason for bailing, which I can never talk about.
Yeah. No, it's good.
I know, I'll just say I brought it up to her recently, and she was not happy that I brought this up. So I'm not here to, again, with the book, I promise not to expose scandals anymore. I've become a reformed person. So I'm not going to go back on this fight.
No, we don't. I like Karen. She was a guest. I had a good time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She was lovely. She's lovely.
Great. Yeah.
So when you have the Next Generation cast together, is anything new? Are they just repeating all the same stories? Did you get what kind of scoop did you get on that? And yes, I would guess most of the people on the list aren't seeing each other. That one is an active Comic-Con probably favorite. There isn't a Comic-Con I don't go to that I have one of all the women from the Next Generation.
Oh, you do?
Yes. That was the only time I ever got upset at a Comic-Con, by the way. I go, I do like Beverly Crusher, right? I get, and they're all there, and they purposely, when they're at Comic Cons, they purposely bring pictures of each other.
Fabulous.
So I went to the one, had her sign it, picked the one because I knew I was going to have the other. And of course, I get with all three. So maybe one day I'll meet the third and I'll bring it and I'll have the trifecta on the thing.
Fabulous. So that's great. That's
So
great.
this is where I get upset. So not upset, but you know what I mean? And this is the scam. And so I go to the next one and they're like, they wanted to charge me more because now they're considering it.
The value of it?
They consider it like they didn't consider just the photo. They considered it like I was bringing in, you know, sometimes when people bring in a toy or something, they'll charge like $100, but like the 8x10's 40. So instead of 40, they're like, it's 60. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, because it's already, I'm like, I got it right over there. I would have got a different picture over there. I would have just got individual pictures. You know what I mean? Like it was the only time at a Comic-Con that they did that. I know it's so petty. It sounds so ridiculous.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. And if I could, if you'll let me, I have some really good autograph stories. They're actually in the book, but it speaks to what you went through. And one I'll tell, I was involved with the other two. This one was told to me by Burt Ward. He kind of denied it later on, and then he admitted to it. There was a little boy who had a poster of the Batman movie from, was it 1966, the one that Lee Merriweather did as Catwoman. And this little boy had signatures from Burt Ward, Burgess Meredith. This is a long time ago, you know, when they were alive in the 80s, I guess. Burgess Meredith, Lee Merriweather, Cesar Romero, and Frank Gorshin. So he had Robin, the Joker, the Riddler, Catwoman, and Penguin. The only one he needed was Adam West. So this little boy and his mother show up at the Hollywood show, which at this point was still at the Beverly Garland Hotel in North Hollywood. And Adam was there, and I assume Burt was as well for this one. And so the costs were not a lot back then for a signing. I think it was maybe $20 for a signature. And so the little boy went up to the table, and I always thought it was Adam, but Adam was there. But now Burt tells me that next to Adam was his manager, a guy named Fred Westbrook, who was always looking for a dime. And when they saw this poster, the conversation turned to, well, you know, little child, what you have there is worth a lot of money. And when I sign this, it's going to be worth a ton of money. So we don't see us signing this for $20. The lowest we could do for you is $500.
Wow.
So the little boy starts crying. You know, Batman's his hero. I mean, he's going around searching for all of them. This is going to forever taint the poster and his memories. The mother is livid because it's posted out there what the cost is. She had to go talk to the manager, and I believe there was a conversation that was had, and they came to I think it was $100 or something that they paid. They negotiated them down. But how awful to this little boy that he had to experience that whole thing. And, you know, there is something I get, you know, a lot of these people haven't worked a long time. This is a chance to make money. They're making their fans super happy, but it does totally change what an autograph used to be. I was a General Hospital fan when I was a kid, and my grandmother was on a cruise ship, and Anthony Geary was on the cruise ship, who played Luke of Luke and Laura fame. And she went up to him, and Tony Geary signed an autograph on a Princess Cruises napkin for me, and I kept it, and it really meant something. It was a gift. And now that it's a negotiation, a lot of celebrities, some of them don't feel comfortable with that. And I tell you, one of them is a Love Boat actress, and she's one of the most amazing people. Cynthia Tweez, Lauren Tweez is how she went on the show. She played Julie, the cruise director. And she loves her fans so much that she doesn't feel comfortable going to these autograph shows and charging them. She just says it feels icky for them. So I don't know. I mean, I get both sides of that. I mean, people would rather, I think, see her and pay her a little something than not see her at all. What is your view on the autograph negotiation conversation?
Well, funny you should ask. You could see from behind me that I clearly, and here, I don't know if I showed you last time, but like, I mean, I have, you know, my whole wall is all 8x10s, and
fabulous. What's your most precious one there? If the house were on fire, it's not going to happen, God forbid. But if you could only grab one, Jeff, what would you grab?
I like to think I wouldn't grab any of them, but like, sorry, kids, I had to save the ponds.
You're covering one of your kids' faces with one of these autographs. Which one do you grab?
My favorite one, actually,
Yeah.
which isn't even from any of these, is I was interviewing John Iman. And John Iman I love the Twilight Zone. Okay. So like the Twilight Zone is like my fave. So he was in actually the same episode as Stephen Talbot called The Fugitive. And he was one of the kids playing baseball. And he was in like the original, in the pilot, to Leave It to Beaver. He was like a kid actor that was in all the little things. Sure. And so I'm interviewing him and we're talking and he's sharing stories and, had a lot of great stories. And he says, oh, by the way, I was in an ad I'm going to look at it, as Carnation in a 1950s Life magazine. And I said, really? I said, John, if I can get that magazine, because I love the old style of ads, those old ads, right? Yes. If I can get that and I send it to you, you sign it for me. And he says, yes, absolutely. I get on YouTube, I get on the eBay. It's Pat Boone's on the cover. I find it. I order it. They ship it to me. I go and I ship it to him with a return thing. So he doesn't have to, all he has to do is sign it and send it to me. And he did. It was so cool. And it's on my wall. And yeah. And so I just love it because there's just a little bit more of a story behind it.
So that might be one that you would grab potentially.
I don't know if I would grab it, but if like I were to say like, a lot of times when people are like, which one's your favorite? I go, that one's, I think, is my favorite. And it's not because, sure, I got Henry Winkler right here saying Jeff is cool. So that's official,
great.
And it's like, and I met a lot of cool people. I love, there's the kid, the guy Carl from Walking Dead right there. When I walked up to his table, I said to him, you see that girl over there? Oh, she's got eyes for you, buddy. Like she was like, I was in line with her and she was just like so in love with him.
Oh my gosh.
Like, that's cool.
I stopped watching Walking Dead when they killed Carl off. I'm like, I'm done. I can't.
But I said to them, I get to the front and I'm like, I can't use any of these photos. I go, I had it in my head. I needed a picture of him eating the pudding on the roof. And they're like, oh, we got that one. Yeah, we got that one. We got that picture. And so, so they went and got it for me. My favorite picture though is that one right there, which is maybe that's the one I'll grab. It's Land of the Lost, us in the raft with Chaka, Holly, and Will.
All three of them.
Yeah.
Marshall, Will, and Holly. I could break into the song right now, but I'm not going to. It's great when there's a story behind it. I agree. Yeah.
It was fun. I have I'll tell you a story when we're done of one that I don't have that I still am a little bitter.
Oh, okay. Those are always the best stories.
Yeah.
Since we're speaking about Gilligan's Island, I want to tell you a couple quick autograph stories. I was still at the Enquirer at the time. I had heard that Russell Johnson, who played the professor, that his son had passed away recently of AIDS. And that Russell was an advocate for HIV, and he was, just doing a wonderful thing with his life in tribute to his son. So I'm like, you know what? This is a great Enquirer story, and I always wanted to try to bring good Enquirer stories to them instead of just the sleaze. I met Russell at one of these autograph shows, and it was his lunch break, and we went to lunch, had a great lunch, and it was very emotional. He cried, I cried. We talked about his son, all the work that he did. And then I walked him back to his signing table. He said, Will, this was really great. He said, do you want an autograph before you go? And I said, Russell, that'd be very nice. I would like that very much. And so he signed the photo for me. It's the photos in the book. He handed it to me and said, that'll be $15. So it's hysterical. I mean, but it says a lot. I think it says a lot. And the other one was I caught you moment. And this was when I was working on Dynasty. I was working on the Reunion movie. I was on set. Joan Collins had a best friend who was also her assistant, a woman named Judy Breyer, who was huge shoulders. I mean, the women on Dynasty always wore those shoulder pads, but hers just looked like those naturally. without the pads. And so Judy, I got to know Judy a little bit from working on Dynasty, and she said, Will, would you like an autographed photo from Joan? And I kind of knew this was a no-no. Working on the show, you just don't do that. But I was like, there's nobody around, and she said Joan was in her trailer, and so I said, well, sure. It was near the end of, we were about to wrap the production. She went to her trailer. A short time later, came out with an autographed photo from Joan. It was a beautiful photo. To Will, love Joan Collins. And right at that moment, Joan Collins comes from the other direction, walking offset into her trailer. She had not been in her trailer. She had not signed the autograph. And Judy knows she's busted. And she's just looking at me, and I'm looking at her. And I kept the autograph, even though I know it's a Judy Breyer, Joan Collins autograph. The photo of that is in the book. I mean, how funny. So I think probably, unless you see them do it, a lot of times it is a publicist or assistant who has learned how to forge their signature. And I have a beautiful poster from Ken Kercheval, who played Cliff Barnes on Dallas. It's a beautiful illustration of him with an oil well in the back, and it's signed to me, but it is the most feminine signature. I mean, with little hearts, and I'm like, I knew Ken Kercheval. He did not sign this, but I kept it. I mean, he said he did.
At one point, when eBay was, I'm going back a little bit, I would buy autographs.
Don't start me.
None of them are on the wall. And I finally made a rule for myself. I said, if I don't meet the person, it doesn't have any meaning for me. So I don't want it. I don't just need the autograph. Like, I think one of them is John Travolta, a Grease photo. But I'm like, they're just in my drawer. Sure, they come with a certificate and says it's real and all that. But it's like,
I mean, come on.
But it's like,
certificate of authenticity, please.
Right. I kind of just decided, like, if I'm not experiencing it, it has no meaning to me. I did think of the one that I would take in the fire.
What is it?
I have an 8x10 of Mary and remember the old computer paper, that you
sure.
So it's an autograph from Mary Travers, and she was actually in my house, and that's a story. She was speaking at my temple, and so she was at my house because my mom was sort of her and a friend were in charge of hospitality. So she was at my house. It was once a joke that she used to drink. She drank from our Tweety Bird glass, which doesn't exist anymore. But she she autographed like a little caricature of herself. She drew and signed it, and it's on my wall over there. And we went and saw them in concert. And so we were backstage, and they sang my grandpa happy birthday, Peter Paul and Mary. So it was like that one, I think, if I were to pick one with the most sentimental value, I think that would be it.
That beats Marshall, Will, and Holly.
It does.
Okay. But, I get it, though. I get it.
But yeah, I mean, like, maybe I'd grab them both.
Yeah. I'm very much at a stage in my life where I accumulated so much. I mean, here's the stuff I'm keeping. I mean, we're going to do a quick thing. I want you to tell me, well, you'll know what these things are. Look who I'm talking to. But what is this?
Oh, that is Bigfoot from $6 Million Man.
Exactly. Yes. With the, what does this do? Oh, removable chest plate to show his bionics.
That was Andre the Giant, wasn't it?
It was. The first time he appeared was Jack Cassidy, who was Lurch.
Lurch, right?
Am I right? No, Ted Cassidy. Maybe
that's it. Was it ever Andre the Giant, or was it?
And then it was Andre the Giant.
Okay,
yeah, they brought him back. I think Ted had died, and then they recast Bigfoot.
There we go. Which is easy because you're covered in fur. So.
Well, exactly, of course. Yeah, any of us could die. Well, I'm way too short.
Yeah, I don't think you.
I have a few items here. This thing, it's available on eBay. I can't get anybody to buy it. I thought it's so cool. This was a press only promo for Addams Family Values, and obviously it's Thing holding the Addams Family house in a snow globe. Now the snow is all dried up, so maybe that's why nobody wants it. But I thought with Wednesday, being a big show now, and Thing being a character, that I would get some bids. No bids. I think it's available for $15 now if you want to look for it on my eBay. And I'm also keeping this, which I love.
Oh, I love that.
A Herman from the 1960s. It's a puppet, and he's in great shape, and I probably can make a little money from this one, but I'm holding on to him.
A Herman Munster puppet. That's
And then the last couple of things, I mean, I guess, everybody has one of these.
a
But
genie bottle. I saw the real one at the Smithsonian Institute.
did you? Oh.
Yeah.
And then this.
Oh, JR.
It's Larry Hagman decanter. And I don't know if it's musical. I don't know if it still plays the Dallas theme song. It doesn't. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, it's broken.
Oh, it's broken. That's why you're not getting any bids.
Well, and I won't now. I don't think I want to part with this. Oh, this is a shame. The hat also broke, and I won't get into that. It's a sad story. So I'm keeping that, but I'm getting rid of everything. But the things that I'm keeping are things like you said that have real emotional, personal value.
I read in a feng shui book once, stuff like that. Just take some good pictures of it and have the photos.
Exactly.
And then you can part with it, the physical. Though that one I'd keep. I want the big
this one. I got it. I'm going to keep this. I sold my Fembi.
I think what you need to do is get a $6 million man one and put them next to each other.
I have a photo with Lee Majors holding the $6 million man photo. And that was pretty great. My license plate on my car is bionic. I don't know if I mentioned that to you. So when I was at Home and Family, I had a chance to have both Lee Majors and Lindsay Wagner come on the show, unfortunately separate times. But I have them both sitting with me on the front of my car next to the bionic license plate. So
I love that. That is so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Love Boat.
Oh, yeah.
Who is at that reunion?
Well, I was I covered a Love Boat reunion, but I also did produce my own, and it was amazing. It couldn't have gone better. It was around Christmas time, so it became a 2-hour Christmas Love Boat reunion on Hallmark, and I had all of them. Gavin was still with us, so all of them, and they were in their costumes because I worked at a deal with Princess Cruises to promote Princess Cruises, and so they had them in their costumes, which was unbelievable. I got Jack Jones to come out and sing the Love Boat theme song, as he did for the first 9 years of the show. And he just died recently. He was very old then, and he lip synced the whole thing. And the very first shot of the reunion is, him going, and then you hear love, exciting, but not paired up at all. It was kind of tragic. And then I had Charo come out and sing Feliz Navidad as a surprise to the cast. I mean, I was in heaven. I was in heaven.
Charo was the best.
Charo is the best.
Wow,
I met a good friend of mine, Jack Bowers. We met at her house at some strange dance party or something. I mean, and how many times can you say that? I met so-and-so at Charo's dance party at her house. You don't forget something like that.
You do not forget that.
No.
That
or you do forget something like that if you had, too many margaritas.
The Love Boat is, one of those shows. I've had Isaac Gopher and Doc on the show. It was funny because it's been a while, but when I reached out to Bernie Coppell's people, right? Because Bernie's Love Boat, but he's also Get Smart, right? It's it's a pretty solid character he did on Get Smart also. So this only has happened to me twice, but I can when I come onto this Zoom and we talk, I'm fully fine. I can talk to anyone, right? I mean, maybe I'm pretty much, I can talk. When we're here, this is the roles we're playing and I can talk.
You're so easy to talk to. I totally get that.
I don't know how to talk to Bernie Coppell when he just randomly calls my cell phone. You know what I mean? It's not like I can't talk to him, but it's like, hey, Jeff, it's Bernie Coppell. I hear you want to talk, I want to be on my podcast. I'm like, yeah, that would be great. Because somehow he got the information. All right, let's find a time. Are you free tomorrow? I'm like, sure. I'm like, because usually I'm pushing out 2 weeks or so because I like to prepare and stuff. But Bernie Coppell wants to do it tomorrow. I'm doing it tomorrow.
And let's be real. When
they're older, you don't put it off.
Don't wait 2 weeks.
Yeah. And and so we get on, and that guy, to this day, I would say, I call it an interview, but I'm really not any part of it. Bernie Coppell starts talking and telling stories nonstop for like over 45 minutes. It was, to me, amazing. Because I don't need to hear myself, right? If I don't have to work, I don't have to. But at the end when you're editing it, you're like, it's supposed to be an interview, but like at one point I'm like, all right, now we're going to talk about the love boat. I'm like, Bernie, we got to talk about Get Smart.
Oh, see, well, that's the deal. Is
Yeah.
there's always we're taught not to interrupt people, that it's rude. But when you have a show to do, luckily it sounds like he was interesting. But there are times when you have an hour, a half an hour, 15 minutes with somebody is all you're given. And they go on and on and on, as I did for the first half of our chat today. I'm sorry, I caught myself. And you realize you're not going to get to any of your questions. And maybe they're talking about something that was interesting for the first 5 minutes, but now you can no longer use this. And so there's an art to interrupting. That can be part of our job.
Yes, I also, but a lot of times if it's like on the right path anyway, and like it's like I'm like, okay, what I mean, like this is, as long as they're covering everything I want to talk about, I'm like, or they'll go deeper on things that that I wouldn't have even thought to talk. I'm like, anyway, he was awesome. They were all three, actually, Ted Lange and Fred Grandy and him were all amazing. Getting Vicky is the one I need to get.
Jill. Yeah. No,
Jill,
she'll
yeah.
do it. Yeah, Bernie was one of the ones who wanted to get paid. Even though he was getting paid by Princess, he was almost a holdout. And he said, well, I can't come on without getting paid. And then Princess had to talk with Doc. And he was there in his costume. Thank you.
Hey, after he doesn't need to get paid twice. Come on. Yeah, that's
exactly. Maybe he forgot. But he was great. And I had each of them do a segment of their own. That's where I was getting at with the Happy Days thing. They each got to segment of their own. So I had I had Jill Whelan make these amazing. She's so crafty. She made these amazing Christmas ornaments that she gave to the cast at the end of the show. And oh my God, these things were stolen off the set. And they didn't get them. I mean, it is the only time anything was stolen. And what a horrible time to have something stolen. These were gorgeous. And why would someone take 6 of them? They took the entire collection of them. I had Isaac. Ted made a drink in the kitchen. He did a cocktail mixologist segment, which was great. Cynthia, Lauren Tweez at the time she was selling cheese at a store near her in the Bay Area. And so she did a lovely segment on a cheese platter. And I think Bernie, we had to do a medical segment to keep in theme with Doc Bricker. I think it was something kind of comical about how to cure things that could happen on cruise ships, which Princess didn't like because no one gets sick on a cruise ship. No one dies on a cruise ship. You don't have to worry about that. Oh yeah, like
they have like morgues. They have morgues on cruise ships.
People are throwing their fiancés off cruise ships every week. It seems like. What is up with that?
I don't know, but like I sometimes I get these really weird TikToks where it's like, if you ever fall off a cruise ship, it's basically like you're dead. You know what I mean? Because by the time you hit the water and come up, the boat is like forever, and that's assuming you didn't get immediately sucked under. If you see a video like that on TikTok, anyone listening, don't watch it, because that's all you'll get. That's all you'll get.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
Here's how to survive. You're not going to survive.
No. Although I wrote a Christmas movie, that's that very thing happened. They fell overboard and ended up on an island. So.
Oh, sure. If there's an island right there, and
sure,
of course, in your made up world.
Mm-hmm.
What was the hardest one you did? Like when it just did not go right. It was like,
okay, I'll tell you. Yes, very easy answer to that. I was a huge fan of Soap, the TV show Soap that ran from, I think it was 77 to 81. It's the show that Billy Crystal got his start on, playing one of the first gay characters on TV. So, well, anyway, I'm like, you know what? Let's do a Soap reunion. And Benson. The tag was, or the tie-in was that Robert Guillaume, who played Benson, he had a book come out. And so I worked to get an award for him, some kind of a Hollywood award. And he was beloved by the cast. He had had a stroke many years ago, so people probably thought this is one of the last times to see him. So I told my producer, I said, there's a lot of younger cast members, and He had a friend who was close with Billy Crystal. I went out to everybody, but the only people I could get to do it because they were out of town or they had to cancel were the late 80-year-olds. So, and I listen, I mean, those are the people I love more than anything in the world, but they weren't in great condition. The kids of all these people sent in messages, and I got all of them. I got Billy Crystal and Diana Canova and Ted Wass. They all filmed these greetings for him, but they showed up, and it was Catherine Hellman, who had major dementia and could only kind of say the same phrase over and over again. Robert Mandan, who he was great, but he looked like he had died about a year before. Robert Guillaume was very, very frail. Rene Auberjonois, you know him obviously because he's a big Star Trek. You're a big Star Trek fan. He was on Star Trek. He didn't understand what the whole thing was. Didn't know it was going to be televised. So when he got there, he wasn't ready to be on camera. We had to convince him to do that. And then Chuck and Bob, of course, were there as well. And they were, the dummy was very easy to work with. But my editor, who himself was in his 80s, was livid when he saw it. It was sort of like the Night of the Living Dead. They were just kind of walking to set, and he's like, never again. This is your last reunion. We're doing no more of these. And it was. I think that was my last reunion. He wanted to kill me. We had a 2-hour show plan. We did 15 minutes with them, and they were gone. Ageism, sure. But listen, it's also good TV. And I wasn't aware that Catherine Hellman was not in good health. And it wouldn't have served her well to be seen for any more time on air. It's kind of like the last time we saw Betty White. She was on the 2 last times. She did I think a password, and it wasn't Betty anymore. She was always so fast, so smart, and she couldn't get the words weren't coming to her, kind of like me today. And then when she was at the Emmys or the Screen Actors Guild Awards, I forget what it was, and you don't want that to be the last time you're seen. And that has happened a few times. Kim Novak, when she was at the Oscars, was very, very upsetting. Liza Minnelli, when they brought her out at the Oscars, Lady Gaga couldn't have been more sweet to her. But I'm all for celebrating them. But aren't there people who love them who know that it's not in their best interest sometimes to be seen when they're fighting an addiction, when they're still not ready to be on camera? I mean, what's your feeling on that, Jeff?
I feel like it depends. The Liza one was a little awkward. I mean, it really depends on, I think, I agree 100% with you. They need people to know to say, we're good. It's one thing to see them, but it's another thing when they're so frail to like put them through that. It just, because it's not like, it'd be one thing if you're cutting to their house and they're in their living room and maybe they're, like in a comfortable area. It can't be comfortable to get them from wherever they were to that stage, meaning travel, dressed up, everything.
They're exhausted by the time you start.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Lady Gaga should have won a medal for protecting that moment.
I'm not a fan of hiding people if they're with it and have the energy and they're just struggling with a temporary or some kind of limitation. But if they're literally just not present, if they're not there and have dementia or saying the same things over and over again, that's a different.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
We took our show Home and Family to Dollywood. And so as a surprise, I wanted to get greetings from the 9 to 5 cast. And I was very easily able to get Jane, and I got Lily. And I really wanted to get Dabney Coleman. And I had heard that he was not well. So we went to his house. And you're right, it was his domain. He was very comfortable in his regular chair, and we got just what we needed. But if it had been something, asking more of him, it wouldn't have been the way to go.
Yeah, I think it's a case by case, right? Some people, because Betty White was pretty good until 97 or something. It's like
99.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm just saying she was still
amazing. Yeah. So just maybe let us think of her that way.
She got better as she got older.
She did, right? It's wild. I'm doing a story now for Disney, and it's about, let me turn this off. Oh, it's my mom. Hey, Mom. It's about the 1950s. I was reading a memo from Walt Disney about the kind of casting that they were looking for. They were looking for a mother type. And it said in this memo from the 1950s, we're looking for a Betty White type. So, I mean, even back then, I mean, she was that woman we wanted to snuggle in her bosom.
I've watched the Dean Martin roast, which was forever ago. She was 50, and they were making fun of her for being old.
Everyone's now talking about the Golden Girls. Rue McClanahan was like in her late 40s when they started. I mean, and the cast of like Desperate Housewives and Sex and the City are like way older than the Golden Girls were when they were filming that. It's wild. And I do think that styles have changed and people are looking younger than they did with the kind of the permed hair. But it's wild to think that I am getting close to being, I don't know, 10 years older than Rue McClanahan was as a Golden Girl. It's frightening.
It is bizarre. Nothing scarier than that, or when a Facebook memory comes up and you're like, how was that 15 years ago?
Oh my gosh, right?
So, I know we talked a little bit about Batman. Did you cover that one, or was it just kind of
Oh, I did. I mean, I went to Comic-Con in San Diego. So I was let go from TV Guide. They were going out of business almost. They're still struggling, so they're still around somehow, but everyone was being let go. It was my time, so I was let go. But I lined up 2 interviews that I really, really wanted to do, and they said, sure, go ahead and do them. I did one with Robin Williams and Pam Dauber. I did a Mork and Mindy interview together, which was great, and I have a picture with Robin doing Nanu Nanu. But I really wanted to go to Comic-Con and I interviewed Adam West, Burt Ward, and Julie Newmar together. So that was terrific. I know that Burt and Adam had a on again, off again relationship and friendship, and sometimes Burt wouldn't be at a reunion, and you're like, And there was a time when they weren't particularly close, and of course, Batman trumps Robin. You know, I did tell you that story about the autograph. We had them both on Home and Family at separate times. I had all 3 of them, actually, Julie Newmar as well. But what happened with Adam West is I did a pre-interview with them. We always interview them in advance. Adam said he wanted to tell a very heartwarming story about the Riddler, about what was his name, Frank Gorshin. And it was a beautiful story about how Frank was on his deathbed and Adam went to visit him. Adam put a photo of Frank up on his monitor so that Frank could see his face one more time on television. And it was heartwarming, and not long after that, he passed. So I prepped my host that Adam has a beautiful story to tell about Frank Gorshin. And so they said, well, you know, we just want to get in this question about Frank before we let you go. And so Adam got this little evil look in his eye, and he said, how much time do we have? And our hosts were like, oh, no, go ahead, please tell the story. And he tells the story about how he and Frank Gorshin got off work early, and they went to the Hollywood Hills to a party, and they opened the doors, and everyone was engaged in an orgy. Great story for Jimmy Kimmel, but not on the Hallmark Channel. Everybody was, first there was silence, and then everybody, the cameramen, the craft service guys were dying laughing. And of course, it never made it onto the Hallmark show. But I mean, you never know what you're going to get. Adam West was a fun guy. He was a great guy. I loved him, but boy, he was a dirty guy too, which made him just even better.
I think Burt Ward talks about that, like how he'll try and squeeze in some innuendos, you know, just go out of his way. And then like he would do it where they had to use the cut because there was no more time or anything like that.
Yes, totally. I think he liked to throw people off their game. And you know what? Again, he was in his 80s then. And so, you know, why not? Have fun.
All right. Last question. I'll let you go because I appreciate you hanging out with me. But if you could redo one, which one would you redo? And this can be based on, I don't mean that like, you messed it up or anything like that. But like I interviewed somebody and afterwards I watched the show he was on and I'm like, oh, if I could talk to him again, how could I have not been so in touch with that character?
First, I'll tell you too that I really wanted to do, I didn't get to very quickly. I wanted to do 8 is Enough terribly. And Dick Van Patten's publicist, he's passed, but he wanted to be an executive producer, even in name only. And we weren't going to do that. And so I never got to do 8 is Enough, but I was already talking to Betty Buckley about flying her in and singing. That didn't happen. I also really wanted to do Growing Pains, and that was going to happen. But then we lost Alan, Jason Seaver. So, but the one that if I could redo it, they all went really, really well. You know, I mean, there's all these photos in the book. The Waltons was incredible. Little House on the Prairie. We did Dynasty and Knots Landing. Gosh, one I could redo.
Just because you'd have new questions, they did some amazing things after. It doesn't have to be because it was bad or anything like
You know what?
that.
So many have died now. I mean, all those people from Soap that I mentioned to you, they're all
got them in just in time. Just in time.
Even Renee Auberjonois has died. I mean, Chuck, we'd have Chuck and Bob on the show again, and that wouldn't be a bad show. Love Boat was a home run. I was so grateful that I got them all. I don't know which reunion would you love to see happen that hasn't happened yet, or
the thing as a kid that disappointed me the most in terms of reunions, when you talked earlier about like the TV shows, how the TV shows are coming back, it always bothered me when I was a kid that Larry Hagman didn't come back and that they got Wayne, like to be that character. Like,
yes.
why wouldn't you come back? Why wouldn't you? It's like, you're just, that always bothered me.
You know, like, why do it? You're talking about I Dream of Jeannie 15 years later.
I Dream of, yeah.
Barbara Eden, and they got Wayne Rogers, who played Trapper John on MASH, to do it. And listen, I got to say, he did a great job. That's a thankless job to take over for Larry Hagman as Tony, but he hit a home run. They did another one, though. I guess Wayne Rogers didn't want to do it. So they created a new character who was played by Ken Kercheval, who was Larry Hagman's rival on Dallas. I think they thought that would be clever, and it was just unwatchable. It was horrible. It was horrible. Some of these things, I'm so excited, and they're so bad that even I can't watch them. Mary and Rhoda was just the worst piece of crap. I had a party for that, and we ended up turning it off and switching over to Melrose Place. It was so bad. Melrose, I would have loved to have done Melrose. That would have been great to do.
Yeah, a full original Beverly Hills 90210 would be great. Melrose would have been fun. We used to watch those back to back. Like when they were on back to back, we would all get together and watch.
Oh, absolutely. I guess the Brady's would be it. By the time the Brady renovation had happened, and they filmed that very close to where we shot, Hallmark had decided they didn't want to do these reunions anymore, and so it kills me that I wasn't able to get those 6 Bradys onto the show and do a 2-hour Brady home and family episode. That would be my answer. Not a redo, but a one that got away.
That would be the one. If I had to pick 2 that pop in my head that I think would be the coolest to sit down with the whole cast, that I would really, really enjoy, would be Happy Days and or the Brady Bunch. Like those, like if you just surround myself with those, like that would be cool. Just because I feel like,
yeah, we're so lucky. How lucky are we though to have had a chance to meet so many of these people that we love?
It is amazing. It is. I do feel blessed. I'm jealous of all the people that you've met, but at least it gives me something to strive.
And you're right, Jeff. I mentioned how the Star Trek cast sees each other all the time, but in a lot of these cases, they hadn't seen each other, and it was the last time that they saw each other. Certainly that Soap Benson one, it was the last time they all saw each other before they all passed. So the fact that I got to give these people that I worship the gift of coming together one last time was one of the things that I was most excited to talk about in the book.
Amazing. That is a gift. So, well, also a gift for me that you sat down and hung with me again. Appreciate you so much.
I'm talking to you. I really, really do. And I will do one more shameless plug. If people want to hear more of these stories and see all of these reunion photos, pages and pages and pages with facts of life, and hear the stories behind these reunions, then please, check out the book on Amazon, When You Step Upon a Star. And if you like it, I'd appreciate a nice little review so other people can have a chance to check it out. Thank you so much, Jeff. You're the best at what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You're the best at what you do. That's why we're so awesome together. We got
hugs, technical hugs.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.